Cycle still going. Ooh, okay. Okay, remove. Yes. Hey guys, how you going? Jason Blewett here from the Primal Man Project, just getting online, getting a couple of our channels sorted out. So welcome to Seeking Counsel. I'm joined by my friend and brother, Sean Harrold. How you going, bro?
Doing super well, thanks.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, guys. Tonight we're going to be talking superhuman sobriety, which is my catchphrase for Sean's journey. It's an incredible combination of the challenges he's had around sobriety, which he'll go into, and his recent exploration around becoming a superhuman, which is a pretty cool topic. I'm really looking forward to diving in. Sean, for those watching, what's your 30-second intro for yourself?
Well, I'm Sean the Magnificent, if it's only going to take 30 seconds. No, I'm a avid, passionate man, and I'm interested in people more than anything else. Is that 30 seconds, Jason? I can't count.
You got kids? Where do you live? Where'd you go?
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah. So I've got 2 kids, 10-year-old and 6-year-old, little girl and a little boy. Little girl is a Taekwondo ninja, and my little boy is completely undomesticated, which makes it super exciting. I'm in Brizzy, in Queensland. I don't think I'd want to live anywhere else. I love it here. And yeah, I'm a secret agent working as a sales hacker for a new company, which is really, really exciting to be getting in there. Yeah.
Tell me about this. Tell me about sales hacking, brother. What is that to you? And for those who maybe have no idea what that means.
Okay. So it's a term I came up with because sales consultant's kind of confusing as well. And I was having a look at my processes. So I wasn't a natural salesperson. I'm a good communicator, but there's certain key elements that come into a successful sale that I'd found weren't taught in a lot of the sales training that I had when I was going through. So starting with a new company, they'd take you through a script and a basic plan, and then they'd send you out with one of their top salespeople to observe and to learn. And this top salesperson wouldn't do the script or anything I just spent a week learning how to do, and he'd smash it. He'd knock it out of the park. And I'm like, how do you do that? And that's kind of where the sales hacking thing came out. So I started to break down the systems and patterns that I noticed the same way a hacker breaks down the systems and patterns and software when they're hacking a computer. So sales hacking, sales engineering, and I'd break it down to its base components, and I'd have a look at what triggers were being fired and when. Emotional triggers, buy-in triggers, anchors, framing, all these little areas, so I could add not just a good sales IQ, which is having good product knowledge and having a script that flows well, so you know what you're going to say when you ask the questions, and you know how to overcome your 7 most common objections, but also EQ in there as well. So that was a lot about controlling your state and controlling the state of the people in the room with you, so that everyone's emotions went together. With emotions in a room, sales I've always believed to be a transfer of emotion. So if at the end of a conversation people felt the same way about the product or service as I did, I'd transferred my emotion effectively, and it was a sale, because I wouldn't sell something that I didn't feel was great. And I was completely comfortable sitting in a room with a family and have them say they want the product and me to say, no, it's not right for you. Which is unusual, I know, and it cost me money. But I can make a sale to the right person and have them buy again and again. And if I tell someone that something's not right for them, they're not expecting that, and maybe they'll buy the next thing I have that is right for them. So I maintain that relationship.
Beautiful.
So
that's powerful. Thanks for that Amazing. You must be a scary person to sell to.
No, I'm an absolute buyer. During COVID, I bought hiking sandals. Why? And a mini tramp. I got a little trampoline there that I can't lift that. I like lifting weights. I don't like jumping on a trampoline, but I bought it. I'm an absolute buyer.
Of the psychology of a buyer, but you're a massive sucker. Is that what you're saying?
Total.
That's awesome. So we'll come back to EQ, IQ, because I think it's a really cool topic, and I think that concept of the transfer of emotion is a powerful metaphor to use around enrolling somebody in an idea. In the Landmark Forum, which I haven't done, but I've heard their languaging, which is a personal growth program, they talk about enrollment and creating a possibility. And it's when I talk to people about doing coaching with me, I'm never selling anything. It's not language or psychology that comes anywhere near me. It's about creating a possibility for someone that they understand that what I can do with them will help to change their lives. And so I talk about creating clients or creating possibilities. And I think it's maybe, without describing it in the same language, it's probably following the same psychology. Is I believe that you can have an unlimited life. When you believe the same thing as I believe, and we can believe that we can do that together, then we create a possibility. And that feels like very similar to what you're talking about, a transfer of emotion. So that's really cool. But I want to go back a step. So your early history, and a little bit about how you grew up, and just early Sean. And I suppose the biggest theme that we're coming to tonight is to talk about the biggest challenges that you've had, during your adult life. But just give us a background of what early Sean was like.
I was born very young, but into a good home. So I grew up out at Ipswich, out towards Carralee Way, and we lived outside. We like to watch our cartoons too, but they were mainly in the morning at the crack of dawn. But we lived outside. We had acreage. All our friends lived on big properties. We had push bikes. There was no public transport. And if you wanted to go to a friend's place, you were riding your bike there, up and down these crazy hills that Mount Crosby and Corona Downs and Carralee's kind of famous for. And that gave me, with my younger brother and my younger sister as well to play with, that gave us all a pretty good sporting foundation. We all had good hand-eye coordination and balance and no skin on our knees and elbows the whole way through. And it was really, really, really fun. It was a really good upbringing. Hit towards high school, I got to go to a private school. I got to go to Ipswich Grammar, which is shout out to any old boys that are out there. Which was a great school. Steven, a lot of history. It's the oldest secondary school in Queensland, private secondary school in Queensland. When I went through, they still had the cane. Which I experienced a lot and deserved it every single time I got it.
I could not imagine you receiving a cane, Sean Harrold.
I'm such a sweet, quiet, innocent kind of guy. So I went through, and I was lucky enough with Ipswich Grammar School to get to travel around the world and play rugby with them. So we had a pretty good team. We did a 5 Nations rugby tour, so that was super fun. It opened up my eyes to a whole new world. And yeah, I was 15 years old, leaving the country for the first time. It was super exciting. But yeah, at the end of grade 11, I was now living in the same home. But my parents had split and then got back together again. And I love my parents a bit, but they should not have been living in the same house. And my dad drank, and he drank more and more and more and more. And I was 16 years old, and I went to a New Year's party when I had my first blackout. Blackout is like sleepwalking with stupid activities. You don't remember what you've done. You've just drunk too much, and it's like your consciousness just disappears. And I got into lots of trouble. I tried to walk back to a friend's place and sleep at his place, and I missed. I almost got it. I got into the house across the road instead. And, you know, it caused a little bit of mayhem. I was passed out there when that particular family got home from their New Year's celebrations. And I woke up the next day and I felt fine. I didn't remember anything. And my mate's dad came out and he goes, "What do you remember from last night?" I'm like, "We had pizza. We went for a swim. We went bowling and we went to a party." He goes, "Anything else?" I'm like, No, I'm good. I don't even have a hangover. I'm helping cleaning up outside. I'm picking up the tinnies." And he told me, and I didn't believe him. So he told me again, and I believed him the second time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm never drinking again. But that's not quite how things worked out. I managed not to drink for the whole of grade 12. Didn't have a drink. And I was a rugby player and rugby parties and all the rest of it. I just didn't drink. And you know, that gave me a sense of confidence that if I wanted to do something, if I wanted to achieve something, I could. You know, I've got this. And then grade 12 ended and it was university time. And I somehow managed to get myself into a science degree, even though I did no sciences at all in grade 11 and 12. And it was at Griffith Uni on the Gold Coast, and the beach was just there, and the sun was beautiful, and the beaches were beautiful, and the girls were beautiful, and the bars were beautiful. And I was into all of them as much as possible. And I made up for the entire year I had off. And I made up for it so quickly that the university asked me not to come back. Yeah, there was a little bit of trouble at university. So I got a job working in a pub. And you know, I lived in a party house with a whole bunch of great friends, and we drank and we partied, and then we all worked in bars. And I'm like, this is great. This is the life. And when you're 18, 19 years old, it's almost socially acceptable to be a bit of a larrikin and go out and continue to party and to continue to get into trouble. And if you do get into trouble, you just laugh it off with your friends. So after
was this early relationship with alcohol, if you to characterize it now, would you think that at that stage you'd say that you were an alcoholic?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. I think I was drinking my way towards the tipping point. Yeah. So, and I was drinking my way there as quick as possible. So, yeah. I got confused about which side of the bar I was meant to be drinking on, and so they asked me not to work there anymore. And I got into my first sales job. So, it was direct selling for the Cobra Group. If anyone's familiar with the Cobra Group, we'd go knock on doors and we'd sell receptionists and administrators and business owners and tradies garbage for a 200% markup. We're selling them pens and little remote control cars that we got from China, and just all random little items and stuff. And you know, I'm like, oh, I got to learn a pitch for the first time. I got to learn sales for the first time. I got to learn working with a team for the first time, which was super exciting. However, they had a goal that if you made $100 profit for the day, they called that ringing the bell. And if you made 150, that was ringing the gong. And I'm like, they were their goals. My goal was, if I rang the gong before lunch, I'd spend the rest of the afternoon at the pub. And then try and make it back. My goals were, instead of trying to train up new crew members to help them build my own team, my goal was to get as many young, good-looking backpackers on my team as possible. Not for sales. And the drinking and the party culture continued. So I think I would have continued on that way for a long time. In fact, I continued on that way for a long time. But you know, introduced a lovely girl, And I must have convinced her to love me before she found out how much I drank. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about Australia's relationship with alcohol, and I know this is a really chunky issue, but I want to go there.
Okay.
What you described to me doesn't sound like the earlier years in laying the foundations for what you describe as, your challenge with sobriety, and we can talk about where that got to and how you can describe it. So I don't put words in your mouth, but it doesn't sound like the early road to the journey to becoming an alcoholic. It sounds like a very traditional, very conventional teen and early 20s career for any Anglo-Saxon male. Yeah. It doesn't sound unusual at all. Is there something wrong with that?
No, it's not it's not unusual. I felt like I had a really normal life. There was no giant trauma or anything like that tipped me over to becoming an alcoholic. It was just a normal life. I love my mum, I love my dad, I love my brother, I love my sister. We all grew up the same way. But I ended up in recovery, and my brother and sister seemed to drink with immunity. They seemed to be fine. Yeah, they had a working off switch, which I seemed to be lacking.
Yeah. I guess the point that I was making, and I understand what you're saying around the fact that that's, you didn't have major trauma that maybe pushed you down that road or that you felt that you were escaping from, because I think that's probably pretty common with alcoholics. It's a socially acceptable norm in Australian culture for us to have binge drinking on the weekend, for us to have a really excessive relationship with alcohol. In the hospitality industry, I don't know anybody really close, but I can imagine it must be the norm to be drunk and or hungover most nights of the week. And I know I didn't have a really extensive relationship with alcohol, but there was times when I was at uni when, I was drinking more than I wasn't drinking. It was more nights of the week that I'd be on than I'd be off. And I'm just interested to know your thoughts about that as a culture.
I think it's almost a social glue that helps us come together. So especially one of the things I've noticed, especially when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, is you're not 100% sure who you are yet. So you're trying things on, you're trying identities on to see what fits, to see how you feel about it. And if you're going to engage with someone or anyone or a group of people that also don't know who they are, it lubricates the social wheels and allows you to be vulnerable with people and open with people and share truths and do things you're not normally going to do if you're uncertain. It opens doorways to conversations and camaraderie for a lot of people in Australia, I noticed. Don't know if it's bad, but alcohol's a drug, and Australians do drink a lot. So if we were told that all Australians have a drug problem, you'd probably get a different response to if you worded it as Aussies are just great drinkers.
That's the cultural comment that I'm making, is that there is a celebration in Australian culture that if you're pissed as a uni student 3-4 nights a week, you're going through your rites of passage. And for young men who are in their brains less developed to understand risk and want to chase extreme experiences, particularly, who don't have good social structures around them to calibrate their norms, they go into things like dorms and spend years in share houses, and there's not a community of people that say, hey, here are good men who have a stable, steady relationship with alcohol. Here are families, and here are the things that put you into context that you operate responsibly inside of a container. Getting pissed 4 nights a week is wasting your life, and that's not a responsible way to behave. But again, there seems to be this, I don't know if it's a British thing or a European thing, because it exists in other European countries. It's not unique to Australia. That, while you're young, you're expected to go and experience, go and have a gap year and get drunk all over Europe and work in a bar somewhere. Go to uni. And look, I was the guy that was getting invites to the uni pub, on a Tuesday, and I'd said no. I'd say no because I was trying to get my grades up, because I didn't bother studying in high school because my girlfriend, who was 18 at the time, was going to 18th birthday parties, inviting me to go drinking when I was 17. So I just had a bit of an early start on it. But yeah, interested in your perception on the Australian culture of alcohol and what it actually does to our relationship to moderation. How do we approach moderation when our culture tells us it's acceptable to go binge drinking for a few years?
I don't know if we have a culture anywhere that promotes moderation. Not just with alcohol. I've been told to work hard now because I'll never be this young again. In my life, I've worked 60, 70 hours a week because I thought that was the way to go. I'm young. You'll never be able to work this hard again. That's not moderation. When you're in your early 20s and people are promoting, I have a possum that's joined me for the talk. This is the benefits of having an outdoor office. It's incredible. Hey, Mr. Possum. No, it doesn't promote. We're not promoted to do anything in moderation. It's do we tell people, just go to the gym and be healthy? No. Go to the gym and get six-pack abs. Yeah, we don't promote moderation in the Australian society at all. Binge drinking socially acceptable, but there's actually a decline in the amount of young people that are going out and doing it. It's on the way down. It's on the way down. They know there's more information. These young guys are listening to podcasts. The legal drinking age should be 28. I know that's horrible. But your brain doesn't stop developing until then. All your connections between your prefrontal cortex and your cerebellum aren't done until you're 27. Your brain doesn't fully work until you're 27 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. In that time, you should be developing your relationship with your emotions. Yeah. But alcohol suppresses all of it so much, and it causes permanent brain damage. Doing these things. I'm no stranger to other illicit kinds of drugs as well. Yeah, and I think they have a time and a place, but not until your brain's fully developed. Yeah, it's the biggest asset we have, that big chunk of grey matter in between our ears. That 6 inches of real estate's the most important piece of real estate you're going to have your entire life. Yeah, and they've found guys that get multiple concussions from playing high contact sports, and guys that drink a lot do worse in school, do worse in university. Get lower paying jobs, are more likely to get divorced, have trouble communicating, have anger issues, and are more likely to be suicidal. And suicide's our number one killer for men aged between 18 and 40.
What do you think we need to do about it, other than increase the drinking age? What do we need to do or create in the culture? I have an answer, I think, that you and I might align on, but I want to get your thoughts on it before I tell you that it's men's groups and men's work.
I was going to say it's all about tribe. It's all about tribe.
Yes.
We need pathways for men to create healthy relationships with alcohol, with exercise, with work, with sex, with their phones. We don't have that. I've sat and represented at a domestic violence conference, and the best information coming out of these conferences seems to be early education for men. If men have a healthy relationship with women and an understanding of what healthy, connected, wonderful, brilliant sex is, not just what they've seen on a video, on their phones, it makes a massive difference. If we can have a healthy relationship with alcohol or any of these other substances that we use for entertainment, with the older leading the younger, it makes a massive difference. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
community and mentorship.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think the program that you have shared with me that helped you in your journey for sobriety. One of the things in that program I understand is mentorship and that relationship between someone who's been on a path and recovered and someone who's on the path to recovering. And again, it's one of those things that inside of the Primal Man Project and what we're trying to recreate and bring in is the mentorship and tribe and eldership and understanding and respecting the journey of others. And growing up in Papua New Guinea, we have this very similar challenge that you have in a lot of indigenous, a lot of cultures where we've got European culture creating a democratic society overlaying with an indigenous culture, where you've got abuses of alcohol coming out of a degradation of their social structure. So they lose rites of passage. They don't have that tradition anymore. They lose the sacred men's work where they would have mentorship and bringing young men up through the tribe and through initiation and through rites of passage where, no, you're not going to be considered to have a voice in a tribe. You're not going to be given opportunity to make decisions like drinking alcohol and having a voice in a community until you've demonstrated you can be responsible. You can actually take actions, in your own right and in your own name and be accountable for them. And yeah, it's a big part of, I think, what's missing: responsible relationship with adults and mentors and people giving you an example. Create a great framework. I mean, you're probably an example of somebody who learned from someone who didn't set a great example. If I can take that inference from your dad and from your journey with alcohol. If you had a tribe of men, a dozen men that you looked up to as examples, and one of them abused substances, whatever that might be, and the rest of them had a balanced relationship, you even that out. Yeah. We rely so much on our parents now because we're not raised as a tribe. We lean into the edges that are created by our parents. And for as much as we honor them and their contribution in bringing us into the world, I think our social structure is broken. And we do, we lack the leadership and example. But coming back to your relationship with alcohol and kind of when you started to get into a place where it started to impact your life. You talked about having met your wife, the mother of your children, your ex-wife, mother of your children, but you started to allude to the fact that, she loved you because she didn't know how much you drank. Talk us through how alcohol started to turn up in your life and how it started to take away from your life. Okay.
So to begin with, my ex partied the same way I did. We had a great time. Yeah. It was so much fun partying together. We had a blissful honeymoon stage that was so much fun, and we went and ran amok, and it was really, really fun. But then she started to say stuff that I didn't quite understand. She started to say things like maybe we should only party on the weekends, or maybe we should only do this when we go to a friend's place or we have friends come over. Or maybe we should just cut back a bit. That's what she said. What I heard was, you should drink without me. So that's what I did. I started hitting the pub before going home. I would hide alcohol. I'd play hooky from work so that I could drink. Not all the time, just sometimes. Sometimes I felt like a pressure would build up and I just needed some time to myself and I grab a big book, and I go to the pub, and I'd read that book, and I'd drink, and it was just me escaping reality by myself. And I could be anyone while I was in that pub. You know, if there were green people drinking in the corner, I'd turn green on the walk over. If they were leaving and they ran out of alcohol and the orange people were still drinking, I'd transform from green to orange on the walk over, and I'd fit in. And I didn't need to know much about you apart from the fact that you were drinking, and I wanted to drink too, and let's have fun. You know, if people come into my bar and bought coffee, I'd heckle them.
The great Australian tradition of giving anybody who makes responsible choices toward alcohol, giving them as much as you can to peer pressure them into joining you in their alcohol. Absolutely.
So, yeah, it started to get bad. I'm a bit of a strapping lad. I'm a big fella, and I liked fighting. And I had a girlfriend that weighed half as much as me and come up to my chin. And I'd drink, and I'd come home, and I knew she'd be upset. And I'd be trying to think of anything I could say or do to make her not be upset at me. Yeah. And then I'd have other days where I'd had a few drinks, but responsibility somehow snuck into my brain, and I'd go home. Yeah. And sometimes it'd be okay. But sometimes I'd have those few drinks and then go home, and I'm like, you know what? I really need more drinks. So I'd start a fight so I could storm off, and then I'd go drink. It was a perfect solution. So anyway,
what was the pivotal point? What was the
pivotal point?
And that was a question in from Samantha, who's asked that. Thanks for the question, Sam. I also want to do a quick throw out a shout out to Rodney Bell, who I think is an old boy at Vippy Grammar, because he said that you're a good man from God's country, or at least or at least a shout out to that part of the world. But yeah, and Bethany said to an earlier comment about what we were talking about, my Beth, talking about running with the wolves. So boys amongst men, great examples, creating that leadership and mentorship. But coming back to Sam's question, what was that point? Pivotal point for you?
What was the point? Okay. I'm an incredibly slow learner. So I'd already been in a program of recovery for months before I realized I had a problem. And so I came home one night. I was really drunk. I just wanted my partner not to yell at me. And the brilliant idea I'd thought up to get her not to yell at me was to tell her that I was an alcoholic and I was going to go get help. And it worked, because she calmed right down, and she was all happy and laughing, and I probably got some that night, and it was fantastic. I'm like, this is a fantastic lie that I'm going to use again and again and again and again. But she was committed to the cause, and I found myself at a meeting in a recovery program that night. I didn't know anything about it. You know, they had structure, and they had mentorship available, and they had a pathway to success, and they had literature and all these levels of help. But I wasn't ready. You know, I wasn't willing yet. You know, the master didn't need to appear because the student wasn't ready. You know, it was the way it was. You know, reminds me of a story. I'm going to tell a story. I gotta get one in here.
Sorry, brother. We're in the long form interview. We get
awesome.
Lots of
awesome. I love it. All right. So these two guys decide they want to go hunting, and they don't know anything about hunting, but they got lots of money, so they go buy all these sweet rifles, and they get all the camo gear, and they get all the whistles and the fake ducks out there, and they got the big Bowie knives that they can have on their sides, and they're pumped, and they go hunting, and they've brought, you know, these awesome hunting dogs along with them to help, and there's ducks everywhere, and they've got the shotguns, and but they're not getting any ducks. And the first guy looks at the second guy, and he goes, "What do you think we're doing wrong?" He goes, "I don't know. maybe we're not throwing the dogs high enough. So when the student is ready,
if we had a live audience,
I laugh so hard at my own jokes. I don't need any more support and encouragement.
I need a laugh track when I record.
I know you need the fake one over the top. So when the student is ready, the master appears. So I was going to these meetings full of masters, completely willing to help me, and I didn't want their help. And it wasn't anything they said to me to try and help me that actually helped. It was vulnerability and honesty. This is the first time I'd seen grown Australian men and women honestly talk about their feelings, related around the damage caused by alcohol, the guilt and the shame and the remorse, and the fear of running into someone from the previous night when you had no idea what you'd done. So I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't want to be like them. I'm like, you guys suck. You haven't had a drink in, 5 years? Your parents must lock you in the basement and not let you out for birthday parties or Christmas events. All these guys are living the worst life. But I related to those feelings. I related to those feelings really, really well. And it made me feel like maybe I'm the same as them and maybe I should give this a go. Maybe I should try this. So I wasn't smart enough to try it their way. And I had this unwavering confidence because I'd been a year sober before in grade 12. I just stopped. And I'm going, I can do this. So I made my own plan without any input from anyone who'd already done it before. Because what would they know? And and providing nothing good or bad ever happened to me ever again, my plan would have worked.
Provided you lived in a cave in a mountain and you couldn't get access to alcohol and there was no other humans around for 100 miles. Yeah. And there was nothing I could brew my own with. I just want to give you a couple of shout outs. Martin Bentley Gibbons, who sounded like he might be a mate of yours, said thank you for this. He had to drop off, but he was watching and supporting. So thank you, Martin, for your support. Glenn Pearson has asked, what is it like today now that you're sober? I want to take that question, but I want to hold it on for a quick second. And we'll get to that as part of the end of your journey. So, the current life around sobriety. And Ronald asks a question, if you lack upbeat energy, which you don't, but with others might, in a natural sense, and rely on substances and a party to lift you up and be energetic and entertaining, how do you create and sustain that, with a life of sobriety?
Right. Okay. My experience of people in recovery is, especially partying with people in recovery, is because it's a community where everyone's so honest, rigorously honest, because it's a requirement to have your life saved, I guess. And because a lot of these people have sat down with a mentor or sat down with someone they really, really trust, and they've gone through their life with this person and picked it apart, looked for the great and looked for the bad, and done a stock take of their life, where we don't regret the past anymore. We accept our past. We don't regret it anymore. It gives us an energy for life. I don't know. I don't think my drinking ever made me better at the party. It maybe it lowered my inhibitions, but it also took away my ability to truly connect or have a real conversation with anyone. Because is it a good conversation if you can't remember it? Those filters for niceties are required. So I think it's work on yourself. You don't need a crutch to express who you are.
Yeah, well. What has alcohol cost you, Sean?
Oh, okay. Well, firstly, lots and lots of money, but also lots of time, lots of relationships. Cost me years of emotional growth and maturity, and combined with high contact sports, there's a pretty high chance I'm brain damaged.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big price.
It's a big price.
So when you realized you were paying too much for it, I suppose going back to your story about becoming involved in a recovery program and starting to be mentored by those people that had been through the program, and you had your own plan. So at that point, did you actually acknowledge you had a problem and you needed to change?
That was the first time.
Yep.
That was the first time. So the first time I actually acknowledged that I had a program. I had a problem. I had my own program. It was awful. But I acknowledged it. I remember I called my mum, and she said, "I know, sweetie." I was breaking the news to her like it was breaking news. She's like, "Yeah, I know." In fact, everyone knew. I was the last person to find out.
Wow.
I was the last person to find out. So, I was lucky. I was definitely one of the lucky ones. It was suggested to me in a support group that maybe I should try it the way it's worked for everyone else, as opposed to doing it my own way. And I had a mentor come show me the way he recovered, and because he'd had a mentor show him. He'd had someone who'd walked along the path to recovery as well. So we work together. It's like following someone through a minefield. Yeah, the best place to walk is in their steps. If they don't blow up, you won't blow up. I don't want to forge a new path through a minefield. It doesn't sound fun. Yeah.
So Craig has asked, did you replace one addiction with another?
So my best answer to this is, inside of me there was a hole. Yeah, I could feel it. Yeah, and I tried filling that hole up with sex, drugs, alcohol, work, food, and none of those things fit because it was a God-shaped hole. And not God in your religious sense, but a higher power, a stronger power, a better power. And it's the only thing for me that can fill the hole. Yeah. So, yes, when I wasn't dealing well, I looked for other things. I looked for work, or I looked for food, because I was still learning the tools of recovery. Yeah, it's easy to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, but you're never recovering in those stages. If you give up cigarettes but start smoking cigars, it's not a recovery. If you give up alcohol but start smoking tons of marijuana, it's not recovery, because recovery is about dealing with yourself. Dealing with yourself.
What were you running from, or what were you hiding from?
Me. me. You know, I don't know the quote verbatim, but our biggest fear isn't that we're not powerful enough. It's that we're powerful beyond measure. And I was running away from me. I was angry or I was happy. They were really the only two emotions I understood, and I tried to fit everything in there. You know, I was happy most of the time until I was furious, and I wasn't furious. I was scared. You know, you're not angry. You're lonely. You're not angry. You're stressed. I had a big bag of emotions and only two names to put on them, and it was unhealthy.
Is that common, do you think, in Australian culture and in men?
I think so. It's the suppressing of emotions because we think that's the right thing to do is probably the most damaging thing we can do in any way. What you don't feel, you store.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's no coincidence that cultures that have a suppressed emotional expression have a high consumption of alcohol.
I don't know if there's a study to back that up, but there should be.
In anecdotal observation, places that I've been to in the world that don't have a significant alcohol culture, traditional, indigenous, native peoples, or even just peoples of nationalities other than European countries, where they live more in keeping with their traditional life, where Europeans haven't introduced alcohol and alcohol is not corrupted culture, they have a very, very different relationship with happiness. Happiness exists as a state, as a homeostasis, that happiness and joy and laughter exist all the time, not just after Friday night drinks when you've had a skinful. And for me, the suppression of emotion that comes along with British and Anglo-Saxon and European culture, that we can't express or we shouldn't express how we feel. And, you know, talking to you and hearing your story about attending, you know, a recovery meeting where it's the first time you've ever heard people talk about their emotions. I think there are a lot of people here watching and listening who would relate to having had that experience in their early life and prior to any exposure to any growth work. A lot of the people that are interacting and probably watching on this page have been people who are in the personal growth arena, and those watching on my personal page maybe not. But I was in a similar boat, having arrived in you know, my own personal growth journey, my first workshop, a room full of strangers expressing the deepest, darkest parts of themselves was something so completely foreign to me, and it was petrifying for fully grown men who would completely lock up and almost totally shut down. Like, there's actually physiological processes that I've seen people go through where they actually go catatonic because of the fear and because of the incredible emotional deconstruction that has to happen when they pull apart the outside layer, and underneath all that stuff has to come out or go somewhere. And yeah, no surprise in my experience that substances and substance abuse goes along with suppression of expression for culture. But yeah. So continue your story. But thinking of your chronological order, we were at your recovery. You were your first attempt.
Yep.
How did it go?
All right. So I had a mentor. I had someone to show me the way for the first time,
yeah.
And he was showing me through the way he was shown, and I couldn't get it because I couldn't get surrender. You know, I couldn't give up my power. I thought I could beat it by myself. The very definition of addiction, as I understand it, is something that no human power can stop you from doing. That's addiction. Yeah, and once you start, you can't stop. If it was just peanut butter, and I was allergic to peanut butter, I wouldn't need a program of recovery. I'd just stop eating peanut butter. Yeah, but
like gluten.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. The cheese tastes so good. But bread. Bread.
Burgers and pizza.
I'm going to struggle for 3 days. I'm going to fart for 3 days, but I just want that pizza bread.
It's the same hit. It's the same dopamine hit you get. You can't beat that. It's sugar. Yeah. It lights you up.
Yep.
It lights you up. All right. So I'm working through. I'm working through with a guy who's been doing this a long time, and at first I can't get it because I can't surrender. I'm not humble, and I can clearly see where alcohol's messing up my life. I just can't see that I'm not in control. It was a very, very difficult thing for me to get, and it took a long time. And I'm super grateful that my mentor didn't try to rush me through the rest of the process, because I hadn't got that foundation, to build the house upon. He was making sure the foundation was strong, and that foundation is powerlessness. It's surrender. It's hitting rock bottom. Which is, it's funny that rock bottom and foundations go so well together. You need to hit rock bottom so you have a solid foundation, because you want to build a foundation on stone. It doesn't shift.
What does surrender mean for someone who's not in a program of recovery? So taking yourself outside of the conversation about substance, what does surrender mean to you?
Okay. So I think of it in elements of control. I'm going to flip it the other way around. Yeah. So if you think of a big target, you've got the big outside target, the next circle, and then the tiny little bullseye in the middle. The bullseye in the middle is the 6 inches in between your ears. Yeah. That's all you control. And most of us don't control that very well. But that is all you control, nothing else. Anything outside your skin, no control at all. I control that. No, you don't. You have influence over the things in your environment. Yeah, that's influence. And then everything outside of your influence, you have no control and no influence. I needed to accept and surrender to the fact that alcohol was outside my influence and outside of my control. It was in that greater realm. It allowed me to open up to the concept that there was a higher power available to get me through this. Yeah. So I think it doesn't have to be alcohol. It can be work. It can be anything. But yeah.
I struggle with the concept of surrender. I'll be honest. I know that's a big part of the next phase in my journey is moving from the unconscious behaviors, triggering, self-indulgence, no ownership, basically not awake, into a phase where, okay, I'm taking ownership, I'm taking accountability, and that means taking control of my life. I chose to go to a personal growth program. I realized that I was fucking my life up and fucking my relationships up. I chose to do the work to heal the things that were emotionally blocking me, and then I chose to start kicking ass at life. I chose to go and get after it and get up early and exercise and eat right and do stuff. And it was things inside my sphere of control. And I believe in manifestation. I believe in drawing things into your life based on what you focus and you visualize. And then I come to this concept. They're like, yeah, well, you got to let all that go. And I'm like, but fuck, I just got it. It's just no, I'm not letting it go. It's here now. I've got it. It's good. I like it. I like this. I like income. I like wellness. I like happiness. I love growth. I love my men's circles. I love my coaching. I've got it now. And they're like, no, surrender, let it go. And I'm like, but no, I don't want to let this go. It's good. I like it. I like these things. I'm not surrendering. I'm going to manifest the shit out of everything. I'm going to bring in what I want. I'm going to bring it in because I'm going to put the dots together. I'm going to make my brain see the things in the world that make a sense in alignment in the subconscious to the reality that I've told myself that already exists. I'm going to do the thing and make the thing turn up, and it's going to be mine. I'm going to control it. It's going to be surrender it.
What? Super hard. If it had been surrender your car keys, I would have handed them over straight away. If it had have been surrender all your money and everything you own, I just would have gone, here, have it. If it had have been surrender all your clothing, I could have nuded it up. I would have been fine. Especially if it would have fixed my problems. But no, it was surrender your will in your life.
Wow.
They're hard things to hand over.
Yeah.
You know, they're hard things to turn over. And this is how I think of it. You know, if my cup is full, if my cup is full, you can't fill my cup. You know? And I'm handing over to a higher power. So I don't hand over, I turn over. And what I mean by that is I turn it over, I empty my cup. And once it's offered, it's an empty cup for my higher power to fill.
That's beautiful. Ranald says, surrender the bender.
Surrender the bender. Yeah. Surrender control.
Yeah. So the program is working. We're talking back to your chronology now.
Yep.
Yeah, the program is working.
Yeah.
What happens?
What happens? You have a spiritual awakening. That's exactly what happens. It's how it was designed. The program I went through was a combination of chance and miracles for a few good people. They had the leading doctor in America with drug and alcohol addiction. They had an action program that was already in place with another group that was working with recovery, and then they had the realization of needing a spiritual awakening brought about by Carl Jung and someone he worked with, and it was a combination of all these things together that helped put an action plan in place. So, you know, we surrendered. We turned our life and our will over. We did a fearless and searching moral inventory. Oh, that's scary. That's scary to turn the mirror and the microscope back on you and go through. And then it's even more terrifying to admit that, not just to yourself, but to another person. And then we cleaned up. We cleaned up that past. You know, we tipped out all the bad stuff. We cleaned up that past, and it became a daily action. Yeah, it became the tools we used in the morning when we started our day. It became part of the tools we used at nighttime when we finished our day. And then, like all great things, learn, do, teach. So I was mentored, so now I try to help other people. Mentor them through the same way I was. I'm so appreciative that I have my sobriety. Yeah, and I wouldn't give it away for anything.
Wow. And I understand you celebrated 11 years sober.
Yeah, nice.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's an incredible achievement. That's a really powerful testament to your commitment to improving yourself and a commitment to, something that I'm yet to really do, which is the surrender. You know, I'm on a journey. I'm on my own path. my own making, in my own naive potential, potentially my own naive perception that I have some control over the destiny of the way that I've lived my life. Harold Samis has said, "Well done, Sean," talking about your 11 years sober. So you've surrendered, you've been successful in your program, you turned your life around, and you're 11 years sober. What does one do with sobriety that is 11 years deep? What does one do when the possibilities are open to you?
That's endless possibilities.
So anywhere
a life full of total potential. So my life now is good. After 11 years, I got better at using the tools that helped. I wouldn't say I've mastered them, but I work towards it. I work towards mastery. And the better my life goes, the more likely I am to forget sometimes that I need to do these things that make it go really well.
Yeah.
And as soon as the proverbial hits the fan, I'm like, I remember every single tool and everything I have to do. Yeah. And I do get to use my power. Yeah. I do get to use my will, but it's my willingness to do the things. Yeah, on a daily basis. I still get to make choices. But it's a choice of whether I'm going to do the things or not that help keep me on the path I want to be on. I know that meditation helps me. Yeah. Did I meditate today? No, I was too busy. Yeah. And as a result, I had a tough day. My mind wanted to run about 2 steps in front of where my feet were.
Yeah. So it sounds like, and this is an area of joint interest for you and I, that finding the next level. So working on yourself, cleaning up your past, getting complete, having a fearless moral inventory, all the things that you've done really that I would relate or correlate to healing.
Yep.
Retrospectively, working on these, under a mentor, working into a program, so you acknowledge that there's something else, someone else is designing for you that's better than your own knowledge that you found in a cave, and you've created the unlimited possibility. Where does the human go who has tapped into the potential of where you go next? Peak performance is what I'm talking about.
Peak performance, awesome.
You've got this great interest area in it.
Yeah.
What does peak performance mean to you?
It's optimization. Yeah. So I know all the way back from playing sports that not every game was the same. Some games were a struggle. It was a struggle to run onto the field sometimes. It was a struggle to get in position. It was a struggle to make the tackles. It was a struggle to make the hits. Some games you felt like you were running upwind or uphill the whole game. The whole game was so hard. And then other games, you had these moments where you were completely in the zone. Everything was running downhill. You were untapping new sources of energy and strength and power you didn't know you have. You could run to where the ball was going to be. You could read in a moment the play going on around you, and if you're defending and you know where the ball's going to be, you can put some great shots on. Yeah. Same with baseball, man. I played baseball a lot growing up as well, and it was the difference between trying to throw the ball in the strike zone and being able to tell which stitch on the catcher's glove I was going to throw the ball at. It was these peak states, and I didn't know what they were. I knew I was having a good game. It was the same with sales. I'd come down and have these days where everything was a yes. because I was so in tune. I was so connected. I didn't miss anything. They could invite me in and I'd glance past a room and see netball trophies out of the corner of my eye and sit down, and my conscious hasn't even registered that I even saw this out the corner of my eye. And before we get into it, I ask her to tell me about netball. And they light up like this is the perfect thing to say, and we create this immediate rapport. I was overcoming objections they didn't know they were going to have at the end. Before they even said them, and it was just yes all the way through. And I'm like, fantastic, you feel the same way I feel. Let's do this. We'd have the paperwork done, and it was an unbeatable feeling. I've had other moments that were the exact opposite, where nothing I could do was right. And I tried. I knew the basics. I knew the fundamentals. I had the right sales IQ for those situations to be able to handle it. But yeah, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you can't overcome. I've gotten 5 days worth of work done in one day sometimes, and other days I've spent 5 days trying to do 1 day's worth of work. And I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know how. So income this interest. Income this interest in peak states and what people are achieving and how are they doing it. We have a look at extreme sports, and the bar on extreme sports is doubling faster than technology. Technology and information is meant to double and double and double and double. It's this TikTok cycle that we go through with technology and information, but the bar in extreme sports is going through the roof. We go back to 2000, and the biggest waves were 30-40 footers. And they're big waves, and it was impossible to surf a wave that was bigger than that because surfers couldn't have the paddle speed to make it onto a wave because the wave moved too fast. You couldn't catch it. So in comes a guy in an altered state and goes, we should just use jet skis. And we'll tow you into the wave at speed. Okay, cool. What does that mean? Well, it means we're going to surf a 50 to 60 foot wave straight away, and we don't know what happens next. So he gets towed onto this gigantic wave. It's the biggest wave in the world that anyone had ever surfed. They surfed it at Mavericks. It's gigantic. And he gets on the wave, and he's towed in and he's at speed. But as soon as he lets go of the tow rope with the jet ski, he starts going up the back of the wave. That's a bad place to be, especially as it's about to peak, because that means you come crashing down with the wave and you end up in the tumble dryer underneath the water. And some of the waves out there put you underneath for 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm pretty good at holding my breath, but I ain't that good. Anyway, so what does he do in this situation? He's got a total disengagement of the prefrontal cortex. That's the logical thinking part of the brain. That's normally where we're processing time and space. Seems pretty vital to be aware of those things when you're about to be dumped off of a 60-foot wave or a 6-story building of water. But what happens is the brain switches up. You have a firing of all these amazing neurochemicals going on. You have dopamine, and you have I can't remember the name of the other ones off the top of my head, but it's the same amazing drugs you get from all the best drugs, and they all fire in your brain at once, and your cerebellum starts processing speed and time and space, and your peripheral vision opens all the way up, so you're fully aware. And he rides right up to the top of that crest, and he has a foot strap, so he just jumps down the face of the wave. And they're like, how did you know to do that? He goes, it's all I could think to do. Is his creativity in that moment of life and death come through and helped him make the right decision. Absolutely incredible. You have skateboarders and motorcyclists, whereas, in 2000 doing a backflip was almost unheard of, and now they're doing double backflips, no hands, no feet. Skateboarding, when Tony Hawk did that the 900, everyone lost their mind. It was incredible. No one had ever done that many rotations before. Now we have a 12-year-old that does a 1080. It's and they're not doing this because they're thinking hard about it. They're doing this because they're learning how to drop into an altered state that increases strength, mobility, awareness, and creativity in those moments. And yeah, you can use it for sport, but over in Silicon Valley, what they really want to be doing with their computer engineers is have them build out for the amount of time they're in flow. Because you're 5 times more productive. And if you spend an hour in flow, you're more creative for the next 3 days. That's so cool.
Wow.
That's
so how do we get?
How do we get into flow? This is I've only just started studying this, so I'm super pumped about it. I'm right in the honeymoon stage of getting into flow. So so it's about focus. So you need to be completely focused on what you're doing. So if you're trying to get into flow in your workplace, you need to cut distractions. In America, they found out that people check their email in an office on average 36 times an hour. You need to cut that down. Yeah. They found out that on an average day, people are focused for 11 minutes on one thing. Yeah, if you want to get into flow, you're probably going to want to be focused a little bit longer than that. Yeah. They also found out that on average, people have 2.5 hours of productive work a day for an 8-hour shift. Yeah. They're stressed out. They're burnt out. They're unproductive. A majority of these staff like their like strangers more than they like their boss, and it's because they're working hard, but they're working in a way without optimized states. So we want to minimize distractions. We want to get into an area where we can have a controlled set amount of time to engage fully in what we're doing and engage in one thing fully.
An example of someone who gets into great flow in my life is my son when he's got a Lego that's just cracked open. Oh man, he's 11. You give him any other task to get attentive for more than a few minutes, and he's an 11-year-old. His mind wanders. Holy shit, you give him a Lego build that says 14-year-olds only on the box, and man, he's just cutting in, and there's 8 hours. He'll be there on the floor, on his bum, on the timber, and he will have not moved or ate or drank or said a word. And I just think, wow, give me my Lego project and I will take over the world. What are people's Lego projects? Yeah. I know this call has been going for 1 hour and 13 minutes. Feels like 2. I know for me, when I'm in a men's circle, when I'm on a retreat, when I'm in a group of men, when I'm doing coaching, 2 hours, and you know this, 2-hour conversations just gone. When I'm focused and when I enjoy what I'm doing. Eliminating distractions and having focus are the real key things. The next thing is the level of struggle. The first step for getting in focus is struggle. You need to be doing something that challenges you. You have your son doing 14 plus Lego. That's the level of skill required and the level of challenge matching up. If it's too easy, you won't be fully engaged. If it's too hard, as in more than 4% hardness above your skill level, you'll be frustrated and not move out of that lane, and you'll give up. Yeah. What they've found is the optimum level is to be about 4% above your current level of skill, which means you need to learn and improve and have creative ways to come up with solutions.
Yeah. And if you can maintain that, you're living a marvelous life. They've found a direct link between people that have lives with these peak states, whether it's climbing mountains or public speaking or rowing, running. I think we've all heard of runner's high. You know, people with these peak states, the more you have in your life directly correlates to how successful you are.
Wow.
There's no surprise that when Google was looking for a new CEO, they went to Burning Man, because they know they're going to have some altered states, but also some peak experiences. Yeah? And they took these guys and they picked the guy who handled these peak states the best. Yeah, because he'd been there before. He'd already built his life around peak states and experiences.
So what's next in your journey to find and connect with peak states? What's on your peak state hit list and learning list?
Excellent. So I'm studying flow right now. So I'm doing a course put together by Steve Kotler. It's called Zero to Dangerous. Oh, it's very, very exciting already. So I want to complete the course. Yeah, I'm learn, do, teach. Nothing's changed. I'm looking for a support group and a mentor. I got to pick my mentor. I have hourly an hour session or 2 hours. It's going to be 2 hours because he's talking to me. It's 1 hour for everyone else. But he had an interest in philosophy, so I booked every single one of my appointments with him in advance and gave him a different quote from some of my favorite philosophers in the notes every single time. So it should be great. Socrates and Plato and Rugby and George Carlin, because he says some amazing stuff. Marcus Aurelius. So I'm studying, and then I need to do. The next part of learning something is doing it. You need to live it. And if you've learned something special and worthwhile, I feel like you have an obligation to share it. If you figure out the cure for cancer, don't keep it a secret. If you figure out the secret for living a life in altered states, that if you could hit flow on demand, you'd only have to work Mondays, because you get 5 days worth of work done in 1 day. That's a lot of spare time. Give
me some of that. I'll be signing up.
Yeah. So things I want to do, bow shooting, bow hunting, for sure. I want that. I want that thrill to get out there and connect with nature and be connected back to where my food comes from. I want to go. I found a place in Brazil that's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school, also really close to some awesome waves. And I want to surf and do jiu-jitsu for like 6 months, because both those things are big flow triggers. It's jiu-jitsu is managing stress, and with that skill level, and even the fear. There's a slight fear of being hurt. It's the same with surfing. That element of fear certainly helps kick you into flow. I've heard that when people do base jumping, they're in flow immediately. There's no gradual come into it. The frustration level and the struggle level is done really quick. Those amazing flying suits, they hit flow immediately. But the stakes are high.
So Jason said that men's work makes him go into flow or close to it. What happens for you to get into flow, Sean? When are the common places for you to get into flow?
So one of my most common places is having a conversation. So because I'm passionate, and I really am interested in what makes people tick and what they're passionate about. I want to sit down and talk with people, and I will lose time. I will remember almost word for word the entire conversation. and be able to repeat it back to you in 3 years' time. That helps get me in the flow. Another thing is lifting really, really heavy weights. There's a definite neural connection for me when it comes to pushing above my head or above my body or lifting on my shoulders or just picking up off the ground something that weighs a lot more than me. Yeah, a lot more. They're great flow moments.
There are two books that we've both gotten onto. I don't know who referred you. I'm sure you first, then referring them to me, and I've really enjoyed. So Stealing Fire from Steven Kotler and The Rise of Superman, the other book also by Steven Kotler. So for those playing at home, definitely check those two books out. Stealing Fire is definitely an audiobook worthy one. And I'm starting on The Rise of Superman. Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness are the three categories of description, or the three criteria they talk about in Stealing Fire. If you lose your concept of self, these are the things that I remember. It was a great book because it really went into the acronym and it continued to repeat the theme. It was really well done. If you lose your sense of self, if you get so caught up in the moment, so I think about when I'm playing squash, so high intensity activity, full on, it's very active, it's very competitive, that time will go very quickly. Whereas when I'm in a CrossFit workout, time does not go so quickly. It goes very slowly. I want death to arrive soon. and if the Grim Reaper turned up like halfway through most of the CrossFit workouts I've done, I'd be like, "Yep, you must be here for me." Yeah, I think it's
I have a question for you. So, when you're playing squash, you're not thinking about yourself at all. No. Are you thinking about yourself the whole time you're doing CrossFit? This is hard. This hurts. Why me?
I'm thinking about. If I am, yes, I'm thinking about and the rounds, but it is less. It's less flow because maybe I'm pushing myself. Maybe the balance wasn't there, but time does go slower. On the runs in between the lifts, in between the activity that I can't do, like a bar and muscle up or some other crazy thing that I'm not skilled up to do yet, but. I know that when I've been in my life the most fit and the most active is when I find the things that make me forget about time that also happen to be active. So squash was a great one. Timelessness, forgetting time. Time goes by too quickly. It's an hour and 23 minutes right now. I feel like I've just gotten online with you. And so you and I have that in common. Love conversation and love diving into people. When we have our coaching sessions together, it's like, man, okay, I can't have anybody for at least 2 hours after Sean's supposed to be here because we're going to go forever, which is brilliant. And I love that. I love that we get to do that. And effortlessness, I've found recently for myself, allowing myself permission to do the thing that I like. And in creating my own career and my own coaching practice and this movement around Primal Man Project, I'm now building to a place where I very soon going to get help to do the administrative, the planning side, the things that are not in my area of genius, to allow me to focus on having conversations with incredible people like you and allow me to focus on, sharing some cool things that I learned because I feel comfortable talking to people. And you put a camera on me and put a light on and I'm okay. I can talk. Is your possum back? Is that what you're looking at? He's in flow, or he's just really listening intently to the conversation. He's like, man, you guys are getting into some juicy bits. Just listen. Effortlessness. So doing the stuff, and you've talked about this in your sales hacking, that you hate paperwork. So rather than doing the hours of paperwork that everybody else was doing, you'd ignore it. And that made you a terrible employee or a brilliant process improvement person because you hated paperwork. So you're like ruthlessly like, nope, no more paperwork. Nope, I'm not doing it. Just kill it.
Yeah, not doing it. Yeah, that totally become my superpower. Yeah, I just like, no, I don't want to do this. So when I got to start consulting and helping out different companies with sales processes or sales, first thing I'd do is minimize paperwork. Actually, I'd minimize as much stuff as I could for the salespeople, because salespeople don't make money doing paperwork. They make money selling. They need to be talking to customers.
They're not in flow on paperwork. They're not paperwork people. They're people.
They're people. Yeah. From that same study with Flow, 14 hours a week on doing duplicate tasks. That's so much. That's so much. I could see 7 new customers easy in that 14 hours.
Yeah. And richness, the last one of the STIR acronym. So richness is powerful, impactful, really like blow you away, hair stand on end. The stories that I remember from Stealing Fire, euphoric dance music, and whether or not people are actually chemically enhanced or not, but even just going to this ecstatic dance, this place where they go and drink cacao and then they turn the music on and the lights off and people dance until they just about pass out from euphoria, because they're just hitting states of flow. And an hour goes by.
They have it in Brisbane. It's called No Lights, No Lycra.
Yep.
Yeah.
Group flow experiences like that, richness. The men's work that I do, big groups of people in powerful, transformative workshops, doing stuff that I can't tell you about, but which induces an incredible state of flow. It's powerful, like fucking hair stand up on the back of everywhere you've got and just make you want to explode out of every pore of your being, and you're not on anything. There's no chemicals involved. It's just the state, the full maxed out state of human consciousness, achieving the optimum state of amazeballs. That's the word. That's the scientific word. Amazeballs.
There are lots of neurochemicals involved. They're just not external ones that you've consumed, and you actually get a hangover from that.
Right.
Yeah. So if you smash through all these amazing neurochemicals in your head and you're feeling amazing, you're in that flow state, and then when you're not, you come down. You're like, oh. And you need to give yourself time to build those neurochemicals back up. That's why diet and exercise and good sleep and recovery is so important, to have more flow states. I mean, it's nice to have one every now and then, but ideally, you want to be able to control your environment and be able to put yourself into that flow state more often. Diet, exercise, movement, those things are key for replenishing those stores that you burn through. Things like having a good zinc and copper balance in your diet and 5-HTP and just getting your neurotransmitter levels back up again so you can hit that peak state again. Because when those neurochemicals run out, that's the end of flow. You can drop back out of it as hard as you drop into it. You can drop back out of it as well. So you need to be looking after your body, the vessel. You need to be looking after the vessel to get the best performance out of it. It's like putting, put regular old diesel in an airplane. You put avgas in.
We've got a couple of shout-outs. Our good mate Rick Peterson, who you caught up with this week, who was on the retreat with us, has said, 2 awesome blokes talking real. So shout out to Rick. Thanks for watching, brother. A good mate of mine, Dave Welch, who you know through the circle as well, Sean, has said the mountain headache. This is a thing, this is a phenomenon that we experience at these transformational workshops that we go to, where after about the second, potentially the second, or sometimes even on the first day, you get a headache really strong. I get it in the temples, and other people get it in different places, but it's a really common phenomenon. You can take Panadol all you like, but it doesn't go away. What I've had it described as is actually an emotional headache, because you're working on so much stuff, you're processing so much stuff in your emotions. I actually am realizing it's probably a neurochemical dump. You're actually getting flow so much, you're actually getting overload, and it's taking a toll on your body.
It'd probably be worth taking some supplements with you.
Great idea. Yeah, what would you suggest?
I would suggest zinc copper for sure.
Yeah.
5-HTP, absolutely. And then what else? I'd probably take some L-tryptophan. Okay. Really good, and some GABA as well, because I imagine those events can be pretty heavy, and the GABA will help smooth you out. So but 5-HTP definitely, because it's a precursor for serotonin. So you want that bad boy back.
I've got to get me some more of that serotonin. And brother, here we are in perfect state of flow, an hour and 31 minutes into this incredible conversation, man. And I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface of this juicy topic that we're both really passionate about. So I want to give you the floor to complete and just to share anything else that you'd like to with these wonderful people that are either watching here live with us. Thank you so much for everybody's support, or who get a chance to watch this video later on. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Any wisdom?
Yeah. So my big goal moving forward from here is to open a Flow Dojo in Australia. I'm super excited to be on this path. They have one in California, where they do mountain trekking to help people get into flow, survivalist type stuff. They do a snow journey as well to help people get into flow, and they have this amazing big swing with like a headset, and you jump into this thing, and you spin all the way around, upside down, twisting everything like this, and it has neurofeedback to help show you when you're hitting the flow state. The whole thing lights up. And they also, they work with professionals and corporate teams and sporting teams and CEOs and entrepreneurs all over there to help them achieve these flow states more readily. And I'd love to do the same thing here. Yeah. So if you have an interest in that, reach out. Let's have a chat. I want all the help I can get. I'm looking for more mentors and experts all the time. So
fantastic.
That's it from me,
brother. Yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been such an incredible conversation. I love the expression that we had right up front: 10 pounds of fun in a 6-pound bag. You fucking love it. You were such a ride to have on our retreat. We had our Sharpen the Spear retreat last Saturday. I'm still healing up my knee from a very big day's trek. Really exciting. And Rick Peterson, who's just dropped in for the comment there on my personal page, was with us. Such a beautiful man, such a knowledgeable man. I'm really looking forward to learning. I think you are as well. Probably learning a lot from Rick and all the wisdom he has around the outdoors and around nature. Martin Bentley Gibbons said, "Great work, guys." So it's a shout out, I think, for yourself, Sean. So look, just a quick moment for what we're doing here in Primal Man Project. Coming up in the near future, on the 22nd of August, we have our next Sharpen the Spear retreat, which was a really powerful day out. And we went on that spear retreat together. What was your experience?
Top secret stuff. What am I allowed to share?
The same that you delicately managed in not giving away the details of the name of the program that you're involved with today, but talking about
it's super powerful. It's super powerful. It's a catalyst for change, which I think is is all the men there. It's what we were looking for. We were looking for that catalyst for change. And in my case, when it hurts enough, I change. And in one moment, it hurt, but it's been excellent. Yeah, and the lessons continue to drop in slowly but surely, more and more over time. So I'd recommend it to everybody. Get out there. Take the hard path. It's the more worthwhile one.
Beautiful wisdom, man. Thank you for sharing your experience. I really appreciate it. It is so aligned with the work that I think that you and I are both doing to get uncomfortable, to push the boundaries for ourselves, to get physical, to have adventure, to get in flow. I'm in flow running one of those retreats. And I think the men, as compressed and cold, and it was a really beautiful adversity on that day. We had fantastic weather conditions.
Maximum contrast.
Maximum contrast. And so by beautiful weather conditions, I mean, it was pissing down rain. There was barely a window in between, and we enjoyed some brilliant conditions. And so for all those watching, men, we have our next retreat on the 22nd of August. We'd love to have you along. It's an incredible day. And we have our men's circle on Sunday for those who'd love to get around a fire with a group of great men to drop in and just support each other with whatever's going on in our lives. Continue the great work that we're doing here at the Primal Man Project. So we'd love to see you in the circle on Sunday. Both of those events, details on the Facebook page. Sean, I wanted to acknowledge you, man. I want to acknowledge you for being such a positive force in everyone's life that you come into contact with. You really are someone who lights up a room. And I'm really, really glad that I met you. I'm really glad I had you come into my sphere. You've come into our circle. You brought this incredible big heart, and you give so much back to everybody you're in the room with. You give to every conversation, you give in presence. And I don't know if I've met a caliber of human being at the same level as yourself in a very long time. So I just want to honor you and acknowledge you, brother. It's been an honor to have you on the show and have this fantastic conversation with you, man. I know it's going to be one among many we're going to continue to have. I do love you, brother.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, everybody, as I get emotional for my deep love for our brother, Sean. That'll be it. I wish I could give you a big hug, bro. One of your big, epic bear hugs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.